Apartheid, the suffering of a nation. South Africa, beautiful, picturesque, serene, natural, all these are used to describe it. It is located in the southern tip of Africa, just as the name says. Its land is blessed with many natural resources and minerals such as gold, diamonds, and platinum. It is world famous for its diamond mines and the large amounts they produce, so it was inevitable that the British and Dutch colonies that were founded in the 17th century would discover these minerals in the land around them. The flood of people, mainly from Britain, angered the natives who were being pushed out of their own land, and it quickly ignited the Anglo-Boer War. The Second Anglo-Boer War was fought between the British and the Boers, the native people. The war lasted from 1899 to 1902. The Boers fought using guerrilla-style tactics, but other than that, they were not very strategic. It was a much bloodier war than the First Anglo-Boer War, and the British troops faced many unfit conditions. Many Boer prisoners were taken captive and put in concentration camps, much like the camps during World War II. The people were starved and beaten, and many of them died in these camps. Another large casualty number was not from humans, but the number of horses that died was unheard of. Horses had to be imported from overseas to help aid the war. As the end of the third year of fighting was coming to a close, the British troops were starting to be worn down, and finally, they surrendered. The war resulted in the independence of the colonies in South Africa. These colonies formed the Union of South Africa. The two main political groups in the Union were the Afrikaner National Party and the Boers. The following years, the two groups had an uneasy but equal power share, until the 1940s when the Afrikaner National Party was able to gain a strong majority. They created a plan to cement their hold on the economic and social system. It was called the Grand Apartheid. It allowed the Afrikaner National Party to keep control and also spread racial separation, so the native people of this beautiful land of South Africa were ravaged by the effects of apartheid.
Apartheid is an insult to God and who God dignifies, by Robert Ramsey. Racial segregation in South Africa began in colonial times, but apartheid as an official policy was introduced in 1948. The new legislation created 4 different racial groups: whites, blacks, colored, and yellows. The government segregated education, medical care, and other public services. There were 2 parties involved in apartheid during the 1980s. The whites, whose living conditions in South Africa under apartheid was comparable to the living standard of most Western nations at the same time. An example, access to good government schools, hospitals, and policing. Other racial groups such as the blacks, colored, and yellows. Blacks forfeited their civil rights under several laws passed by the national government. They were forbidden to engage in political activity and exercise their democratic right. I detect racialism because I regard it as a barbaric thing, whether it comes from a black man or a white man, by Nelson Mandela. The causes of apartheid. One major cause of apartheid is with the discovery of diamonds and increasing need for production slaves and indentured servants were imported from Asia and other parts of Africa. In 1910, South Africa became a sovereign nation, so in the 1940 election marked a political turning point in South Africa. The new government quickly enacted several new policies that appealed to the worldwide regard for racial segregation. The process began with the Population Registration Act, whereby each person residing in South Africa was required to undergo racial classification by government officials. These steps taken by the new government were very similar to the same classification system used by the Nazis during World War II. This process was followed by the Group Areas Act. Starting with apartheid legislation began in 1940, there were many protests and massacres attracting international attention. Violent and non-violent protests took place. President de Klerk was forced to commence the process of dismantling apartheid. He unbanned political organizations and leaders, began to dissolve racist laws and practices, and freed Nelson Mandela from his 24-year prison imprisonment, and involved the government in negotiations with several groups representing the various races.
The economy in South Africa flourished in the eyes of the whites, but for the blacks, however, it did not. And since the whites were in complete control of the government, this means that the white population ruled the economy. The whites would have higher paying jobs, more income, and better jobs. The blacks during the time of apartheid had very low paying jobs that would not be allowed to communicate with the whites. For instance, restaurants, beaches, and parts of cities would be split in areas, one for the blacks and one for the whites. And this costed money and is also one of the reasons that apartheid's economy ultimately failed. And one other main reason of the economy collapsing was because of the many inefficiencies that apartheid policies create, and also because the system of apartheid was very costly from keeping all the blacks and whites separate from each other. In 1951, the Bantu Authorities Act established a basis for ethnic government in African reserves. These were known as the homelands. These homelands were states to where each African was assigned by the government according to record of origin, which was mostly incorrect. All political rights, which included voting, was restricted to each homeland. The main idea or point of this act was to make the citizens of the homeland, making them lose their citizenship to South Africa. For 5 years, these homelands denationalized 9 million South Africans. The Homeland Administration refused nominal independence, but still, Africans that were living in the homelands needed passports to enter South Africa, their own country. In the mid-1980s, the old system of apartheid was replaced by a new policy of orderly urbanization. This policy was intended to speed up the process of cultural change and industrialization, but this plan highly improved the old system. There was no settlement in the political parts of South Africa, and a quarter of the black population was housed in poverty-stricken towns. But in February of 1990, the national government and the African Congress negotiated and resolved a way to end the old apartheid system.